Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's time to talk about, well, this guy right over here, Astalor Bloodsworn, which is now arguably the most popular card in Hearthstone history. The numbers are insane. There's already people starting to get like, should we nerf this card? Has it had its time like Prince Renathal? And I wanted to go over today how I feel about the card. Should it change? Should it stay the same? Or are there bigger problems kind of enabling what it's doing? Before we get into that though, I just want to thank everyone for your support. If you enjoy our content and you feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit the sub button down below. Give the video a like, it helps the channel out a ton, especially as we're on the road to 69,420 subs, because I am a child. But yes, Astalor Bloodsworn, super popular card, but how popular is it? Well, if you hop over to HS Replay and go to the card section, we're gonna categorize it through legend. That's the highest rank you could sort cards by, and you can see it is by far, right now in standard, the most played card. It is absolutely crazy. If you've forgotten, Sire Denathrius and Prince Renathal, they both were like right around that 60% mark. Astalor has passed that mark. It is in 61.6% of decks at legend ranks. It does fall off. The lower ranks you go, the number does go down, but even like diamond through legend, 60%. We go all the way down through bronze through gold. It's in 47%. Even at the lowest of ranks, basically half of your opponents will run that card. And it's really important to note, unlike a Prince Renathal, unlike a Sire Denathrius, this card's not free. You have to either craft it, open it in a pack, or get it for like on the rewards track as like your free legendary. This is not a legendary you could put in for free, or like Bran, right? It is a paid card, and yet it's still passes a card like Sire Denathrius, which was auto-included. And just in case you don't know what this card does, Astalor, it is a 2-mana 2/2 neutral legendary, so every class can run it, and basically if you have 4 mana, Mana Thirst 4, it will deal 2 damage, like an SI agent. And it gives you Astalor the Protector, which is a 5-mana 5/5, which has Mana Thirst 7, give you 5 armor, so like a Shield Maiden, basically, exactly that, except you have to hit 7 mana, so a little worse than your SI agent, but the big payoff is the 8-mana 8/8 version, which deals 8 damage randomly split amongst all enemies. Mana Thirst 10, deal 8 more. So it does double up the battle cry if you have 10 mana. So you deal 16 damage, or if you have a Bran or something active, it's 32. So basically in one card, it's perfectly understandable why it is so good. It just does everything. It's a bit of removal, it's early game, it's a bit of sustain with some armor gain, and it can outright win the game. With a card like Bronzebeard, it can OTK your opponent, or if you Shadow Step it, you can get multiple of them, and well, Shadow Step is 0, you can run 2 of them, and you can Shadow of Demise it, and then all of a sudden, this card that is really good value for one version, all of a sudden, you have 2, 3, and your opponent, if they're trying to play any style of like controlling strategy, they're not going to be able to outlive that damage. But there's also the other side of it, where if you're trying to kill them, you're also not going to be able to kill them because of the armor gain. It's an extremely versatile card. It can slot into pretty much any deck in the game, because why not? It's just one card. It does so much, like we learned with, in particular, Prince Renathal, when they said he had its time because basically he was popular. I guess it should get nerfed. That's what I'm going to say, right? No, I actually don't think, at least right now, that Astalor Bloodsworn should be nerfed. I feel every time I play against or play a deck of Astalor Bloodsworn, let's take a look at an example. I hit Legend with Unholy Even Death Knight in Wild. I'll also take a look at this list. I hit Legend with Frost Death Knight. Both of these decks just play Astalor once. And if you're looking at like a Frost Death Knight, you take a look at Astalor. He's nowhere in the top percentile of like mulligan win rate, played win rate, or anything like that. He's just a solid addition to the deck, doesn't carry it, doesn't do a heck of a lot, honestly. A lot of the times, I'll just throw him away in my opening mulligan. The same goes for like the even Unholy Death Knight. He's just a good card in that deck. deck, nothing game breaking. The issue comes into when we take a look at a deck like Miracle Rogue, which can shadow step it. Again, mulligan win rate, not exceptional, but you take a look at the played win rate, it starts spiking up where it gives this deck that just wins incredible early game, right? Like they have their nulls, they have their graveyard, they have all this stuff that, well, if that somehow doesn't work out, they can just start bouncing Astalors. And then once they start playing them, well, then they start winning the game. It basically locks out, again, control strategies by creating this excess of damage that nobody can possibly deal with. To me, that's not a problem of Astalor. That one payoff of 16 damage, you can play around. Pretty much any deck can reasonably expect to play around it on average. You can, especially if you can gain armor or some health. The problem comes in when you have cards like Shadow Step, have a card like Brand Bronzebeard, which gives you multiple of them. That's when it becomes a problem. And you don't have to like couple up the 8-mana version with Brand. You could just brand the 2-mana one, the 5-mana one, and then you have all of them in your hand, or you could couple it with a Zola or whatever you want. That's when the card to me becomes problematic. I think as it stands, as a standalone card, I think it's perfectly reasonable. I think the popularity of it would not be so high if it wasn't for the fact you could double it up. But let's say you nerf Shadow Step. Let's say when Brand leaves the core set, almost basically confirmed to be happening in April, that it becomes less problematic. Even in Shaman, where Bolner and Macaw both will be rotating, if there are less cards that basically allow you to repeat and abuse cheap battle cries like Astalor, I think this card's perfectly fine. Unlike Sired Athreus, I will use as a comparison, that card was just broken almost on its own. You didn't have to brand that card. If you just had a bunch of minions die during the game, that thing could easily get to like 30, 40, 50 damage. The damage output of that card was insane, and it could kill you. And there was also the ability of you didn't know what to play around. You don't know how long maybe they were holding their Sired Athreus. They might not have drawn it all game and you don't have to worry about it. But Astalor, you know when that 8-drop's in their hand, you have possible ways of at least dealing with one, with a Mutinous, with a Theotar, with a card like that. But with the Denathrius, well, you did have that option to possibly disrupt it. But other than that, you didn't know what was coming. You didn't have that opportunity to prepare. So to me, the biggest problem is the repeating. And I will say the other problem I do have is with the 5-mana version, because it kind of like basically nullifies class weaknesses. Like one of the weaknesses of Rogue in particular is typically Rogue, they're supposed to be able to do a lot of early game stuff, a little bit more unfair with their mana cheat, but you're also usually able to burn them out to kill them. But with Astalor, they're gaining more armor than Warrior these days because, well, Warrior doesn't see play, but regardless, they're gaining 5, 10, 15 armor, and that's not even talking about the concoctions, which could give them random cards, which could give them random healing and armor, but at least that's purely random, whereas Astalor basically nullifies a class weakness for classes that are supposed to have the weakness of not really having healing, not having taunts, not having armor gain. And Rogue is kind of taking advantage of that, again, in particular with Shadow Step and all of that. So for me, the big problem with Astalor isn't really Astalor itself. I think is a standalone 1-card deal. You get the 2-drop, you get the 5-drop, you get the 8-drop. That's fine. I think it's good. It's a powerful card. I think Hearthstone is allowed to have powerful, good cards that are really, I think it's a well-designed card. I enjoy Astalor. I just don't enjoy it when it's happening 3-5 times in a game, or it's giving a class that, or a class or a deck that should be blowing up, basically extra armor gain that they really shouldn't have access to on a reliable basis. So would I nerf Astalor? No. I would nerf the cards surrounding it, like I've been talking about for quite some time in the Shadow Steps. Get rid of the Brands, the Bolners, the Macaws, whatever you want to do. Those are the big problems to me, and it'll be sad if we have to lose yet another good card because we refuse to address a card like Shadow Step, because Pandarin and Porter is still 3 mana, and that card was solely nerfed because of Shadow Step, and it's not the only one. Anyways, let me know how you guys feel about Astalor in the comments below. Do you think it should get changed? Do you think it's fine? And hopefully we'll hear about a balance patch sooner or later, because if you take a look at that, Rogue is a little bit out of control. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.